They'll just be late. Let's start. We have a full agenda. They'll come. We have a quorum. Let's call the meeting to order. Let's do roll call. Marianne Plunder present. Judy Murphy. Megan Richards. Here. Nona Chiarello absent. Teresa Coleman. Here. Sarah Gilbert. Elizabeth Lowe. Dieter Waltz absent. Jörg Zimmermann absent. Okay, let's start with oral communications. Does anybody in the committee have anything on oral communications? No? Let's look at the... There's actually nobody there except Rebecca. All right, let's keep going on. Approval of minutes. Did everybody have a chance to look at the minutes and read them? I got some changes, which I have already incorporated. Dieter was actually coming late, and so he was present. Can I hear a motion?
Identify changes from what we saw?
Dieter Waltz, present.
Okay.
No, it's in there. I'm sorry. There are no changes to what you saw. Sorry. There were some changes I got. Can I hear a motion? Unless nobody has changes to approve?
I move to approve.
Second? Do we have a second? All in favor? Aye.
I have to abstain because I wasn't here.
Okay, one abstention. That's right, you were not on the committee. Good point. All right, so we got that. So let's start with committee business. We checked that there is a quorum for next week's meeting, and we know that Sarah can't make it, but can I just have a show of hands?
So I just want to check again, Marianne, that there actually is a reason for us to have a meeting.
Yes, there is a reason for the meeting. That's why we have it. Can I have a check? Can I have a Judy? Can I have a show of hands for next week's meeting? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll need Dieter. Okay, all right. We had it when we checked it last month. We had a quorum, so I assume we will have a quorum. We need to have our election, so we need a quorum for that meeting. We will also have a potential new member who is going to join us at next week's meeting. So we better be on our best behavior. If you give it some thought between now and next Tuesday of what you would like to do in 2026, just broad strokes, nothing detailed. What would you like us to do, or would you like to drive? So we'll discuss that. And then we might not get to the approval of the open space reports for Darcy and Robert. So then we will finish them next week and approve them, because there is urgency to get this done. All right.
Marianne, can I also bring up as part of committee business that we maybe need to start thinking about budget? Because when do we have to have the budget in for next year?
The fiscal year is June.
I know the budget has to go in in March?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
So we may need to just
not,
start.
Yeah, that's a good point, but not in December, not in next meeting. Yeah. All right. So we have Rebecca on because the first in old business, we have been carrying this ADU checklist on our agenda for quite a while. It's Megan and me, and we haven't done really much on it. And one of the reasons why we haven't done much on it, because we don't really know what we can do. And I, for example, noticed something in our street. There is an ADU coming in. ADU is at the bottom of the hill, and they have 2 big skylights. And I think that you can do whatever you do with an ADU. And so in terms of dark sky, the whole street now is going to look down at two skylights. And it's just interesting. Rebecca, I'll give you the microphone. Could you give us some guidance if there is anything we could contribute for the checklist, or if we should drop this from the agenda?
Well, I know the town, can you hear me?
Yes, go
Okay.
closer.
So I know the town is in the process right now of updating our ADU ordinance because our current one is null and void because so much new legislation has been passed relevant to ADUs and JADUs in the past year. So we're required to update the ordinance. So right now, planning and building are just applying the state ADU laws when they process ministerially all the ADU and JADU applications, and there's a ton of them coming in. So I guess that's good news in one respect, but and in general, the state has moved towards really limiting what local municipalities can do in terms of extra specifications about ADUs. So I'm not 100% sure. Did you actually include your ordinance in the packets?
No.
Okay, so I would have to see it to see what might be allowable, but I would appreciate getting a copy of it because, like I said, we are literally working on it as we speak, and towards the end of this year, we're hoping to have a draft of the ordinance. I mean, we already have a draft, but we're hoping to clean it up and get it all ready to go by the end of this year. So if there is something that we could, that I can check up against the laws to see if some of the things that you guys would like to have, if they're allowable, then I would like to have them so that we could include that. But again, I don't want to get your hopes up too much because the laws have gotten so strict about any kind of changes. Anything that's, beyond height, I think that's about almost the only one.
Okay.
So
Go ahead.
can I just say that what I remember when we first started this process and things were a lot looser then was when it became clear that it had to be ministerial for ADUs. What that meant was that it couldn't go to ASCC. You couldn't do anything about that ADU, but the town could have a list of things it required of all ADUs, so that then it was just ministerial. They had to be against that checklist. And so we were trying to make a list. We never got nearly as far as a suggested ordinance, Rebecca. That wasn't our goal. It was just to make a list.
Right. Yeah, I understand.
Desirables to have included. And now that's more restricted by the law. But I would think, like skylights, that we might be able to have that on there and say, the whole town has a dark sky ordinance, therefore,
How about that then, Judy? Would you like to join our subcommittee and let's just do a wish list?
Yeah. Rebecca, is there any guidance? Is there any sort of short list of the things the town now can't do that the state has said?
I don't have that off the top of my head. I mean, I can look into it for sure.
Yeah, someone must know that because otherwise we are kind of,
yeah, I can check
be
with the town to
useful for
see
us
if
to be able
they
to
are currently implementing a checklist. But I have a feeling that they're not because literally our ordinance is completely void. I mean, it's not legal. So
because I
I
thought
would
that was the whole point of ministerial. Ministerial meant no individual decisions, but there
no
could be
discretionary
no
decisions. So it
discretionary
definitely
decision,
had to
right.
be a checklist, but whether the
Yeah.
checklist can contain things that are not allowed anymore,
Right.
I have a feeling that many of the things that maybe people want may not be allowed because, I mean, I think we allow skylights on the main houses, right? So I don't know that we'd be
with certain restrictions. Yeah.
right. So I don't know that we could have different restrictions for ADUs because really I think HCD.
No, we couldn't, but might have the same. We might have the same, some percentage of the roof.
Right. Yeah.
Something,
So that's the sort of thing I can double check with the
Okay.
Okay,
know.
that would be great.
Thank you.
That'd be great. Okay. Thank you,
And if you
Rebecca.
have already, a list, I can.
We have a list, yes, we have a list that's several years old. We have to find it. But I know the previous chair worked on that, and there is a list out there. Yeah, okay. We'll try to find that list and then take it from there.
Okay, okay,
Perfect. Thank you, Rebecca.
okay.
All right. The next one is the wildlife corridor habitat preservation. And you might ask yourself, why did I combine it with the wildlife inventory program community engagement or synergies? And so the reason why I did this is because we were asking ourselves the question, now we have the draft of the fence ordinance, and how do we move our fence ordinance and wildlife corridor awareness forward? As you know, in the last month, basically nothing has happened other than that I have reached out to Carter War from the chairman of the ASCC, and I sent him the draft for an unofficial review to look at it and maybe give us some feedback, but I haven't heard back. So I spoke with, I'm drawing a blank. What's his name? Konstantin. Konstantin, who is running the, I think monthly, the monthly trail hikes. And I was, say again? Twice a month, yeah. And I was telling him about our idea that we wanted to do something with the community in terms of wildlife program outreach. You know, what birds do you have in your backyard? Do you have a mountain lion in a backyard? What plants do you have in your backyard? With an app. And if he saw maybe some synergy with his hikes. And he actually really jumped on it. And he said, this is actually a great idea. And he said, make sure that the app works on Android and on the iPhone. And actually, that's very, very good feedback. And then he said, why don't you, when you're sort of ready, lead a hike and show us how this would work. Bring the app, you know, we'll look at some birds, we'll look at whatever we see, and lead the tour of, or the route of the hike past some fencing that you think is really good. So I am actually very excited that he and his hikers want to work with us on that. And so that's why I'm now bringing it in front of you. And my suggestion would be that Eliza and I, particularly Eliza, look at the apps. I know that Dave Cardinal, who is actually on the call, he mentioned an app, and I think that app was mentioned in the minutes. I'm not completely sure it is. I didn't have a chance to look at it. I actually looked at iNaturalist, and I know this is the app that millions and millions of people use. I found it very difficult to use. I just looked at it and I thought, what do I do now? And I want to hear a bird. So I think I'll have our resident brain here help us look at what apps are out there. Okay. And once we have identified the apps, we can follow up with saying, this is what we have done, with an article like we did with the house for the owl box, and with the article about the traps, and then we'll plan a hike, and I'll plan the route. Maybe you want to help me, you know, maybe we'll do, I'll plan the route, whatever it is, maybe 4 miles, doesn't really matter. And then we will obviously publish that we're doing this, and we'll see how many people come, and we'll see how it goes. And then we'll get feedback. And then that feedback, we can maybe feed into another article. And I think that will, in my idea, sort of lead to a snowballing positive from the town, from the residents, to embrace our idea and support of wildlife corridors and wildlife-friendly fencing. And at the same time, I'm going to get us on the agenda of the ASCC, because I have actually good news about ordinances and the chance of ordinances with the town. In the wildfire committee 2 weeks ago, Craig Taylor was actually very positive. The wildlife committee is thinking of getting a new ordinance about shake roofs. And then I asked the question, well, I have heard that there isn't much of a chance to get ordinances through. And actually Craig Taylor was very positive. He said they have now a new planning director who has been hired, but who is not yet on board. And he said to that committee, you know, get it going and I'll get it in front of the council. So obviously something has changed, and that's really good news. So I would recommend that we, while we're doing the outreach and all the other stuff, we also get on the ASCC agenda and see how it goes.
I've been one of the people pushing to get it on ASCC sooner than later, but I think that if you got something like this plan that might generate more interest, and especially might generate more people willing to speak up and support, it might be more strategic to do ASCC later rather than sooner. Because if we take it to ASCC now and they shoot it down, then all of our trying to gather support will sort of be, you know, so what?
Okay, we can do maybe ASCC in
maybe-
February.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
that
you
sounds
can't really
good.
have that hike till January, probably.
Yeah, the hike, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, that's good feedback, because the more oomph we have behind it, the more successful we will be.
And the
So,
other
Marianne,
question-
could I ask a question?
Yes, please.
So as far as I know, shake roofs are no longer allowed in Portola Valley.
I agree. I think that's true. They did that some time ago.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, chapter 7A does not, and then the new fire code that was just passed by the fire department this month, and then the town council is going to consider it on December 10th. I'm pretty sure that because I know for sure that that only Class A roofs are allowed, period. So, and shake.
I can't really answer. Okay, David, please, you have some comment?
Yeah, I get all that, Rebecca, but MJ Lee did a God bless her, house to house survey and found almost 100 shake roofs in Portola Valley.
No. I agree that there are existing shake roofs, but if you tried to re-roof a shake roof, you would not be allowed to do that. But yes, there's no
the problem
rule that
is
requires you to remove your existing shake roof and replace it if it's not rotted.
that's exactly the problem. So whatever we can do to get those 100 shake roofs unshaked, I think is important. And if it's not a regulation
Sorry, but
now,
can I just bring up, this isn't really a conservation
let-
issue.
Let him finish. Let him finish. Let him
Okay.
finish. Yeah, David, thank you. Thank you for clarifying that. I agree with Teresa. We shouldn't go down to shake roofs. I just brought this up that the town council said they are working on ordinances, and that's why I brought it up. Okay.
okay, I don't think they're working on anything relevant to this, and I think they should be, but that's not your problem.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
All right.
I have one more thing to ask about this, wildlife inventory program. There are existing a number of apps that have been around for a long time that a lot of people use, iNatural as being just one of them. So how that's what I as an individual use to identify that bird or that bush. And how does that get us to an inventory? Where's the step?
I don't know yet. That's
You have something like that in mind?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, but that's what we have to work on. We have to find an app And then how would we use the app and how would we have then a depository of the result of the app?
Right, okay. Shizu.
I've used iNaturalist a little bit.
Or
I've used iNaturalist a little bit, and whether or not that's the one I want to go to, I know in some of those apps you can create a project and then multiple people can work on it and add photos and identifications to the file. So I think it's definitely possible.
Yeah, interestingly enough, now even your phone has a little iNaturalist capacity. If you take a picture of something and ask for info,
yeah.
it'll bring it up right there. You don't, it's not great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my hiking group, they all use an app and I forgot what it is. And it's not iNaturalist and it works very well for Plan. Yeah. And that's why, this is the first step where we're going to get, but that's good feedback. How are we then putting it into reality so that it's really exciting and people can share? So that was, let me just look, that was everything I wanted to bring up in terms of this item. And then, if this flies, then anyone on the committee could lead a hike and we can build on that. I think it's exciting. All right. Next item is tip of the month. Judy suggested pull oxalis. I think that's a good idea. Unless somebody has a better one, we'll do that. Okay,
I can contribute to that, Marianne.
good. Your name is on here. Perfect. And then what's blooming now, this is the month where nothing is blooming. So unless we have a better idea, I was going to talk about the Toyon berries and the drunk robins.
We normally do berries in
Yeah.
December, right?
Yeah. It's a pity that we can't do videos because it's just unbelievable. The robins, they are so drunk and they're out there, singing and well, I will need help with that. Okay. Yeah, I don't know if we can put a video into the town newsletter. Probably not. We could put it on the website, certainly. Okay, so we'll do the berries, but we'll forget about the video for the time being. And then kudos, I was actually going to suggest, Judy, that we talk about the residents, the committee members, and the Stanford people, Wedge and Dish, that have done this fantastic job of getting rid of the trichia this year, unless you have something better.
I thought we'd said we were going to lay low on kudos for a while.
But a lot of people have done a lot of the trichia, and don't we want to thank them?
Yeah, okay, okay.
What does everybody else think?
Happy to do that.
Okay.
I was thinking that what I was going to suggest before that was that for the next couple of months, I substitute what are our singing frogs doing now. A couple of years ago, I did that in, as soon as the rain started, a little thing about the frogs starting to sing and da 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 da. And then as the months went on, what they were up to, and then when the pond dries up, where are they now, kind of a thing. I think that's interesting to the town.
And we could add that this is not mutually exclusive.
No, it's separate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll add that. I think this is a nice idea, and maybe you can do video as well. You can figure it out.
Not if I can't post it anyway. There's nothing much to see.
It's hearing.
It's what you hear.
Yeah, it's what you hear. Okay. And that can then feed into our program for the wildlife. Where is the wildlife? Well, it's where where are the frogs? Where the water is. That's pretty obvious. Okay. And then the owl box is done. The rat poison, the article on the town newsletter, you take it away.
Yeah, so in Appendix A, there's a document I created from an already created matrix from the Conservation Committee on a bunch of trapping options. This one's just exclusively focused on traps, but on other alternatives. So if you guys could take a look at that at some point, that would be awesome.
So does anybody have changes? Because unless there are no changes, or we could incorporate the changes now, we'll push it out.
So I was just wondering, are we limited to the small, ground squirrels are a problem in some homes. I'm not sure how many. And there are a number in the ranch that are, and there's a different type of trap.
Okay.
tubed trap
Could
option.
you add that? Could you add that to the document? Your ground squirrel knowledge?
It's just a tube trap. I could.
Just send
email
it to
you
Eliza and she
the
will.
Information that I have on.
Yeah.
it.
That's good because, yeah, ground squirrels actually in my neighborhood are a big problem. I have resolved it by putting a stone into both entrances and that has worked. But what they do then, they go to the next street, they go to the neighbor. It doesn't solve the problem for everybody.
Marianne, the only question I had on this, and it's probably completely accurate as it is, but since we're listing prices, were you able to go back and verify that these prices are still consistent or they're still appropriate? Everything's gone up so much then, and I haven't bought things like my little snap rat traps, but when I last bought them, I think they were $3 a piece. And since this says top end is 3, I just was wondering if we
Yeah,
might need to just.
I looked at it. I looked at some of them
Okay.
and the pricing was okay. But Liza, why don't you do one final check with all of them?
I
Yeah,
just would hate
good
for-
point.
Sometimes on lists like this, it's better to put,
A range.
low, medium and high kind of. rather
Okay.
than- So that people know what the expensive ones are and then not,
Yeah.
rather than trying to get a number which is out of obsolete as
this
soon
is
as
a
you do
range.
it. Yeah.
It has a range. I mean, yeah. I was surprised how cheap those whatever traps are. That's why I checked on the price. Wow, really? Okay.
Blown away because they used to be. new.
So why don't you update it and then send it to me and then we'll send it out. This doesn't have to come back for approval. We
So,
never do that.
I fully supported this. I mean, I was part of generating it in the first place. I'm just not clear. What are we doing with this?
We're putting it out on the newsletter. We're telling the residents
Oh.
again, because there is so much, when you look at the forum, there is a lot of chatter about what do I do about my Vernim or something. And we just want to do an ongoing initiative that people don't go to poison.
Oh, totally agree.
Yeah.
I just wasn't clear that this was.
It's an article.
If this is an article?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're going to post, you're going to ask the staff to post it on the town newsletter.
Yes,
And then we should put something in the forum
Yes.
about it with a link to
Yes.
the page.
they post
Oh,
we,
okay.
yeah, we'll put it as an email into the forum.
Not
a-
everybody,
as
yeah, not
always.
everybody reads the town.
I know.
Yeah, I think multiple.
Maybe
probably-
not the same day, it comes
And,
out a week later.
You
or
know,
something.
we also should put it on the town website under conservation. We can do that. It's the town can easily, Elizabeth told me these things she can do easily and very quickly for us.
Yeah.
Trapping. And then the ground squirrels, actually, this is good because this is a big concern.
Yeah, and it's certainly a concern of a number of
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
And you're thinking of a future article on other alternatives.
Yeah.
Because something that we discovered is that there's now birth control alternatives, which is pretty interesting.
This is interesting. Yeah, so that would be a good follow-up. Keep going, yeah,
More information.
with
coming.
information. Yeah,
good.
perfect. There you got your homework.
There's just one other thing that I know we discussed quite a bit in the past, which is another alternative that is available even through PV hardware. That's how I found out about it, is a bait that's a naturally occurring bait. So these, I don't know if we wanted to say anything because I didn't realize this was supposed to be a standalone article. I thought this was an attachment to something else. So when I'm looking at it, I just want us to be clear, what are we trying to communicate? And so I think what we're trying to say on this is, hey, if you've got a rodent problem and trapping appears to be an appropriate way to address or one mechanism to address it, here are some traps that we can recommend.
Now, all we're saying is these are traps. It's just traps.
Well, not really, but we say, here's the first step in addressing the issue. So you focus on exclusion and sanitation, remove whatever is attracting the rodents and make access more difficult. And then here's the chart that tells you what type of trap to use. So I'm just saying there's like one link in there, one step that's missing, which is if trapping is appropriate as well, here are some suggestions of some of the available traps.
Yeah,
Just something like that.
well, I'm not sure. I thought about that too. The reason why it says traps for poison-free rodent control, the headline, because we could have put a lot of things in. I was thinking to just keep it simple and talk about what traps are available, rather than saying, and there is bait or there is birth control. So the idea was to just keep it really simple and talk about trapping and nothing else.
So that makes sense as this is part one of another
That's what it
chapter
is.
to come.
Yeah.
And so down the bottom of this or something, you might say, you know, next,
Okay.
non-poisonous,
Perfect.
non-poisonous baits.
Yeah, that's
Because
good.
many
that
more-
will-
Many more people will grab bait and throw it out.
I know.
Than they will use a trap.
Yeah.
The one thing I might suggest as a motion, as a slight change is down I think it's the trip line trap. That's the relatively new one. That, the old fashioned snap trap for gophers was perilous to use. I could,
I know.
people lose their fingers with them, and the trip line actually is pretty fool safe for your hands. It's much safer for your hands to use. It still requires some
Good, that's good
strength, but I
feedback.
think it's designed to be safer for the person setting the trap.
I have the same problem. What I have seen is the blue bait trap, where you put the zapper. That works really well. And the battery lasts for a year. It's amazing. You just have to move it
I
around.
never caught anything with
Oh,
mine.
I was very successful in the garage with it. It was interesting. Okay.
I have one more minor edit, which
Yes.
is, I think on the typical snap trap, we might add a caution that birds can be attracted if you put any bait on them. So it's good to put them under a cover to.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. That says. Also, I think that.
Are you thinking that?
Oh, there's a
combo
hand.
bait is
Okay. Okay.
snap? It
Um,
looks evil.
uh,
This
we
one's
have
really
David has something to add. David?
Oh,
Or maybe he
sure.
left.
Why would I leave? It's so exciting. I just, I don't know, as a wildlife lover and photographer, it bugs me a little when we put everything into the, oh my God, it's a mountain lion, we should do whatever we can to save it. And, oh no, it's a ground squirrel, shoot it. Frankly, the California ground squirrel is native. It's not, for the most part, too exciting, other than apparently it's digging under a lot of things, but that's kind of the world we live in. So I don't know. I guess I can't say you should never kill them, but they're not like the Norway rats or the black rats or the roof rats. They're not vermin. They live here and they dig and they eat and they provide a lot of food for predators who we want to encourage, I think. So I don't know. I just want to make that all be in perspective. The foxes eat your garden too, but I don't think we're planning to kill them all.
Okay, well,
so-
thank you. This is actually very, very helpful feedback.
Yeah, so the problem, it's really very close to homes for the ground squirrels, where there's been a problem of them tunneling under the foundation. And then depending upon the design of the house, they actually can come up in a crawl space, and then rats follow, and so
Mhm.
it's really just located very close to the homes where people are worried about. There have been some cases where it's undermined part of the foundation to not dramatically, not a house falling in, but part of a foundation and has been undermined. And so that's the context. It's not just a random field and trying to eliminate ground squirrels. They like you say, they belong in this ecosystem and, are definitely a part of it. So it's mainly around structures, very close to structures.
So how about then, because he has a good point. So how about we leave the ground squirrels out this time and we put together a specific ground squirrel article where we formulate what you were just saying, rather than, because with this one, with it's the traps and the vermin, and then it would look like we're calling ground squirrels on the same level with the rats. So let's do that. So then, okay,
Not to further complicate things, but just to add to David's point, also a lot of gophers, moles, and voles are native, and we're
Yep.
talking about those. So maybe we should add a comment like, just because you see it doesn't mean you have to kill it, but if it really is a problem and you need to somehow get rid of it, please use this method.
Yeah, I think that sounds really good to me because I'm not,
okay.
all these things have a purpose, but they can't all undermine our houses. But I think
Yeah.
people are very simplistic, so I think we have to be very explicit about what's out there, what's different, and what is acceptable to do.
Yeah, that's very good. So that's, we'll do, we'll divide it. That makes perfect sense. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Okay. So we don't need to talk about the tree trimming at the pickleball court. You also saw Appendix B, which, Megan, do you want to just briefly address it?
Yeah, so at our last meeting, we discussed the town municipal code, which states that when trees are approved for removal, they should be replaced in kind in the same location. And we talked about the fact that often we just don't necessarily think about it or address it in any clear way. So my proposal is to add a row to our tree removal reports that prompts us to review whether or not it's appropriate to replace the tree, if it should be replaced in kind, and if there's any other recommendation for location, or if we don't recommend replacing it in kind, why? And I think usually that in our case is because there's not appropriate space for the tree.
Okay. So is everybody happy with it's a simple change. So can I just have a motion in a second?
I move that we change the tree removal permit as example.
Second,
All in favor? Aye.
Uh,
Oh, Teresa?
report, not permit. This is the report.
It's a template for the report.
Right. Just
Yeah.
want to make sure.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And
Okay,
yes.
Teresa keeps us on track.
So are we voting? So yay.
All in favor? Motion passes. Okay. Committee cooperation, Frog Pond.
You want me to do
So-
this or was Sarah Sarah, go ahead.
yeah, so I will be thinking about this. She just asked me earlier, just before the meeting, as to whether I would take over that. And I was not expecting that.
Yeah,
So,
from Yogi, because he's so busy. Yeah.
but have you been working with him on that? Tom?
Yeah.
No, we are not there yet. We're not there yet. No, we're not there yet. I think that goes under new business, Judy. That goes under new business.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I haven't decided on, whether I'll,
Yeah, mull it around
but.
because you just heard about it.
consider that.
Yeah, yeah,
Being on this, yeah, being on the subcommittee.
Yeah.
And the lead on something.
yeah, perfect.
No report that I
No,
don't
no,
know of
that's-
anything.
No,
to
no report. No,
at
no.
this point.
That's done, it's done.
Yeah, it's done. So then open space, Nona is not here. Judy, you had some comments on open
Right,
space.
we'd formed a joint subcommittee between us and open space. Then we did that when the issues came up about the financing, and it was now going to be, our work was being financed out of open space funds. And so they wanted something to say about, et cetera. It seemed like it was very important for us to be talking to one another a little more than just having someone at each other's meetings. And then after we met a few times, we decided that the subcommittee was sort of redundant and that having talked a thing or two over, we would go back to, we're in charge of what we've been doing all along and don't really need a lot of input from them for that. And we do inform them about it. And they're in charge of keeping their eye on the finances and how it's happening and what's up with that. So that subcommittee has disappeared.
Okay.
Still have a fairly close tie between them because
Yeah.
Nona's on both. And
Yeah. Sarah, you have a comment? Okay. All right. The next one is Public Works. One thing Judy and I need to do, we're going to reach out to the Public Works Director that he walks out on Springdown will be a good example, to walk on one of those spaces and we'll just show him, because showing what's there is worth whatever, 1,000 words. So we're planning to do that. And Darcy had suggested that, and we said it's a good idea. Wildfire preparedness. So I just want to give a quick update. There were actually some interesting things that were discussed in the last wildfire preparedness that that might have some interest and some bearing on what we do. And that is, there are defensible space assessors. And those are basically residents that are trained to advise homeowners on defensible space. One of these people is MJ, and there are 3 others. And when the fire marshal was giving her presentation, she was saying she's looking for help to build a certification program for ongoing DSA, this defensive space assessor training. And I was actually thinking I would be interested. And I was thinking, as we're talking about defensible space, and that is actually trees and plants, if the fire marshal is looking for help, maybe we want to get involved in this. So I wanted to bring this to the forum, what everybody thinks about, do we want to participate in that and help? She asked for guidance to build a certification program that would be ongoing for these DSAs.
So I'm not sure exactly what they're looking to cover in this program, but this kind of program does exist. Rescape.
What is it called?
Rescape, RESCAPE,
Okay.
has a firescaping credential program. I am actually qualified. So that may be something to
Okay.
model it after,
Okay.
or
Perfect. Yeah. And so then I would like to just get a temperature of the room. Who would be interested in becoming a DSA? Don't fall over. Yeah, I would too. It doesn't mean you have to go out there every month. So, okay, Marianne, you're not here. And Megan, and we can ask Nona next month if she would be interested, but she's not here, and Dieter.
so I think it sounds like a defensible space advisor learns about what the rules are and carries it out to the homeowner and explains it to them. And
Yes.
shows it to them.
It's basic.
Our most valuable input is to the fire marshal is what we've already done, where we sat down with her and sort of chewed over what, what it means and which plants and, where we tried to get her to soften a little bit on the 0 to 5, for a while, it looked like she might say that the ground cover was okay. And then she decided no, but I think that was the place where we had really significant input. Yeah.
Well, 0 to 5 is in the code, and this train has
Right,
left the
right.
station. But what
I
I,
was talking about code versus guidelines.
yeah,
And
it
that-
seems the guidelines actually have not been really updated. Rebecca had pointed that out.
Yeah.
What caught my attention is, so there will be assessors going out and they're going to look at an oak tree that is maybe a foot next to the house. And we know from the fire department that this is perfectly fine. It's just, will the assessors know that too? That's why I was thinking that
So there's
maybe
a-
we want to be involved.
Right, but there's a difference between helping plan what the advisors learn and how they say it, and becoming an advisor yourself, because if you become an advisor yourself,
That's true.
you're sort of the passive recipient of what they're saying you should say. Whereas what
That's true.
you're talking about is having some very significant, important input
Yeah.
to what they tell them
Yeah.
about trees, so that they're not saying the same thing the insurance people are saying, which is not so.
Right. Thank you for clarifying that. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't want to be going around with this list that's created by somebody else and telling people they had to do this and they had to take that plan out and, like that. But advising as to what that list should be,
So,
what kind of flexibilities there should be.
good. Okay.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So then I will reach out to the fire marshal and say, we would be happy to work. And then the question is, who would like to lead that? Anybody who would like to lead the subcommittee for that?
I can lead that one.
You do? Perfect.
Yeah,
Okay.
just arrange another meeting with her like we had before. 'cause
Yeah, okay.
in a
And,
room with just a
yeah,
few of us, it was really very.
yeah.
productive.
And I'll help you, Megan. Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah, I'd be happy.
Okay,
to do
perfect,
it.
Sarah. We got a subcommittee. All right. So that was that. And then I actually have a question for Rebecca. So the fire code has been adopted in the last board meeting or whatever, what the Woodside Fire Department. And I understood from the last wildfire meeting that it now goes to the town for ratification. And the question I have for Rebecca, I thought I heard somebody say, just because it's ratified, because it's ratified in the fire code, does not necessarily mean that the town has to adopt every single point. Rebecca, do you have?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. The
All right.
town does not have to adopt every single thing.
Okay. So Rebecca, as you pointed out with the house numbers supposed to have lighting, and that doesn't really go well with our dark skies. So that would mean that, for example, if we lobby that the town doesn't adopt that, we could do that.
It's possible. I've been trying to look into it a lot more in depth. And I'm thinking that I'm going to possibly suggest, I'm not 100% sure there yet, but suggest so this only applies for new construction. For new construction, you're required to have an illuminated house numbers. And if your house is too far from the street, more than 50 feet, you're required to have an illuminated house number at your mailbox or at a post or at your gate post, at the street. So I'm thinking that maybe what makes the most sense is to require dark sky compliant fixtures, to require a maximum lumen levels, require down lights as opposed to up lights, so that it fits in with our current code without being in opposition with what the fire department wants. And again, I'm going to stress that this only applies currently to new construction. So new construction plus any kind of construction that meets their 50%, they've lowered that level. So now if you hit how they have a new way of calculating 50%. So 50% square footage or the linear footage, they have different formulas. So it's easier to hit that number. But if you hit that 50%, it's considered new construction. So you have to comply with all of the codes in that case, even if you're just not doing. So the number of homes that fit into that is not that big, right? We're talking 15 to 30 maybe at the most per year. I don't know. So that's, it's not a huge thing, but I just want to make sure that we're not going to be putting, bright flashing lights on everybody's house.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
So I'm just trying to figure out how to mute the effect a little bit while still maintaining their feeling of safety that the fire department wants.
Yeah. So I'm glad that I understood that correctly. So there is wiggling room and we are certainly interested in the dark skies, with the wildlife. So, okay. All right. They-
Yeah, and they want it illuminated all night long, right?
Yes,
So,
yes,
you
all night
need-
long. It has to have a solar panel so that it shuts off automatically and turns on automatically. So it is, a significant maintenance issue because when I look up on Amazon, for example, for these kinds of lights and these little, you can get them on a little post and stuff. Chances are they're going to last a year, and then, some cheap thing coming out of China, it's going to last a year and then you're going to have to replace it. But anyway.
So could you start off your adaption of it to say we strongly prefer reflective, but
Well, I'm thinking of actually going a little further and actually requiring reflective numbers on everybody's mailboxes or
Yeah, I
a
think-
post at the street.
that's
As a
a good idea.
minimum, I think, I've started driving around noticing, and literally more than half the homes do not have a visible house number at night. And even during the day, it's sometimes hard to find them because a bush has grown up or whatever. So I think for the sake of our safety, everybody should have at a minimum a reflective number on their mailbox or on a post. So,
Yep.
I
Okay,
think the combination of those two will help.
yeah, okay. Thank you, Rebecca. All right, ASCC, the only thing I wanted to mention just briefly, there was a joint ASCC Planning Commission, Parks and Recs meeting where the possible building of the new bathrooms was discussed at Ford Field. And Judy was speaking for the Conservation Committee, and Open Space Betsy was talking. It will probably in some way have to be somehow, the toilet, that building will have to be somewhere inside the scenic corridor setback. That was discussed. No, Judy, please update me.
Well, you said it will have to be, they were discussing where it might go, and there were strong feelings that it should not be allowed in the scenic corridor. And there were also strong opinions that it was necessary to not observe that setback because for aesthetic reasons primarily and to save parking. So it was to look at various options. There were 3 options. One of them was really not feasible because of expense, et cetera. And so now they're looking primarily at 2, one of which is within the setback and one of which is on the edge of the setback, but not in the setback. And they made no decisions. It was kind of a study session and a recommendation for how to go forward and looking at what they should do. They're not into the design phase at all yet.
Yeah, I just wanted you to know about that in case you didn't know. So it's for information mainly. Thank you,
Well,
Judy.
I feel like it's our responsibility as the Conservation Committee to try to defend the scenic corridor.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay. Then Woodside Fire, I put this in. Did you have a chance to look at the link that was in the agenda? This booklet about what landscaping should look like, and they have it from the 0 to 5 zone and others. It's actually very good. And so I would recommend that we put a link onto that on the town website under conservation. I'm pretty sure that there will be a link on the website from the Wildfire Preparedness Committee. But people, keep asking us, what should we plant? What should we not plant? Whatever, 5 to 10. So, but if nobody has looked at it, why don't I put it on next agenda and you look at it again and discuss it? There is no urgency. Let's do that.
Something we might think about for a activity to do in maybe next spring when people start thinking about planning again is to do something joint with Wildfire about, planting in your, what to do with your 0 to 5, how to land, spring is here. What do you do with
Yeah,
your
let's
0
do
to
that.
5? I think it might have a lot of and be practical in terms of moving the community forward and,
Yeah.
and doing the right thing.
That's a really good idea. And I'm sure MJ will jump on that. Okay.
If you want to, I can talk to MJ and.
No, it's okay. I'm on the committee. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Okay, and then Nature and Science Committee. So the Nature and Science Committee had their monthly meeting, I think a couple of weeks ago. And Darcy tasked the committee and Mary Hafty to have an event, no, excuse me, to have an event that she called like a Wildlife Awareness Day in support of Darcy's planned January Wildlife Awareness Month for the town of Portola Valley. And the dates that are being targeted is, I think the main date is January 25th, although I saw something about 14th also. So the 25th, okay, it's the 25th. And Judy can give a little bit more info because she has been through the whole meeting. But the gist is that we offered, or we were asked, Judy, you can correct me, to have a table there. Maybe you can take it from there.
I offered
Okay.
because I thought it would forward our goal of getting information about the wildlife fencing out, that if they're doing a wildlife awareness month and they're having a day, I thought it would be a perfect time for us to have a table and really push the idea of wildlife fencing, maybe even, you know, have a petition I support, just to do what we can, get more people on board with the idea that we open up more to the wildlife. And so I volunteered saying it was that I wasn't sure, but that I would check and see if conservation was interested in doing that. And then after that meeting, it turns out that I'm out of town then. So I didn't mean to volunteer you guys instead of me. My plan at the time that I did it
I
was
am
I would be
available. Yeah,
there.
you could still, Judy, you could still spearhead it.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Sure.
I'll certainly support it, and I am available on the 25th. Maybe we should have like a subcommittee of 3. Let me ask you, who else could be on the table on the 25th? It's in the afternoon.
Right. You should not be on the day. Well, you could be there as the alternative voice.
Okay.
So, well, and if there aren't enough people to do it, then we just don't.
So
do
if
it.
we don't have enough people, then obviously we can't do it. So let's bring it up again in the next meeting when Nona is here and Dieter is here. Let's see if you know, if there's only me, that's a bit much. Yeah. Let's see. So let's table it for next week. And then let's come to the big new business, the town open space maintenance reports. Judy, take it away.
I'll start with Springdown, since that was in the package that you got there. So this started with Marianne and I met with Darcy and Robert about 2 months ago now. And one of the things they asked from us was that we talked about what we had done in the past, etc. And they said it would be very valuable for them to have detailed information about what needing done so that he could, send out bids, etc. And then he didn't know this wasn't the part of the job he's done previously as a public works person. So he didn't have a lot of depth of knowledge about it. He asked us to find a list of appropriate contractors like Go Native to send these bids out to, and then to create scopes of work for each of the important parcels. So Marianne reached out to Alex von Felt, who's done a lot of this kind of work, and she wrote up something. She had Springdown and Town Center integrated because that was how she had it in her head. So what I did was I took it and I teased her thing apart and I made 2 reports out of it. And I took the stuff about Town Center and passed it on to Megan, who's chair of the subcommittee for Town Center, and you'll hear about that in a moment. And then I did the Springdown one. So there's more in it than there will ever be again in another year, because neither Darcy nor Robert have much historical knowledge of either of these parcels. So I put more than you would in our normal report of saying, please do this and that. I did a little intro to each one. It's probably overkill, but it felt necessary. So it was just sort of a little history, what we understand about it, acknowledging that the town is a little short of money, putting out what we want done this year, and then giving them our 5-year plan roughly. And I'm open to any suggestions people have about ways it could be improved, things I forgot to add, things you think shouldn't be in it.
So I got a little confused because you were referencing things that weren't there. For example, Appendix C, it's in the town center, I think, the town center report, but there is no Appendix C on Springdown.
Wait, we're just talking about Springdown now.
I know, I understand, Judy, and what I'm saying is I got a little confused because when I went through the order they were in our agenda packet. And so the way they came from the town in our agenda packet, it started with Town Center and it went through and then it went to Springdown, and Springdown, the summary started referring to attachments that aren't there. And so I didn't quite. So, okay. And it's okay, so for example, proposed for fiscal year 2006, 2007, detailed scope of work for bids is attached in Appendix C. Okay, there isn't an Appendix C. And so I think it's meant to be in Appendix, I don't know. And so all I'm trying to say is I got confused. I couldn't follow what we were trying to say because I was trying to follow what the document said. So. But did you not see that at the end? Did you not have a chance? I saw it. Yes, I read that. Then I went because I thought there was something different. Just, and that's just nitpicky, but I did get confused because I also am confused because I thought, and I may have completely misunderstood this all this time, I thought some of the basic activities were conducted by Public Works, our own staff at the town. Okay, so like the mowing.
That is changing.
Okay, so then, okay. That's fine.
Yeah, they used to mow and it's not clear that they still will. So I tried to put what needed doing and not, and
Right.
then,
And so we refer to the same things a little differently between the two documents. And so like weed whacking, and then there's another term that's used elsewhere. And sometimes you do talk about mowing and sometimes you don't. So I
tried in the things I wrote, I tried to use mowing for the machines and weed whacking for the hand stuff. Yeah,
Okay.
some people say hand mowing. And
It's
others
two
don't.
distinctively different activities.
Of course.
Right,
Yeah.
so I've got so on the
Language is
5-year
of course
plan,
clear.
it says weed and invasive control, several well-timed mowings every spring and summer. Fine, supplemented with, I got it. That's fine. I understand.
So your
Yeah.
recommendation is to make sure that we coordinate the language between Springdown and Town Center? Is that right?
Yes.
We can do that. Okay. One of the things I was thinking of doing, because I've done it with Howard many, many years ago, I am planning to add a simple Excel spreadsheet that goes by quarter and month and activity. I'll just copy and paste. Because some people have different visuals. It will be the very same information, but it will just be a spreadsheet and you will see per month and per activity.
So
And I'll have that until by
at the
next
top of the
week.
scope of the work, I left in red, what I thought, something I wanted us to talk about.
The scouts. Attachment 1, scope of work.
We leave out the pond maintenance. What do we think? Do we want to put that in the scope of work, or do we want to?
I would add it, they can always, let me correct myself. Remember Darcy said must have, good to have. So we could have must have the mowing and then good to have clean the pond. We could do it that way.
I think I would be a little bit cautious.
Okay?
Anything where we're doing work in and around a creek or a body of water and you're putting it out to bid and we may have involved and who knows who's going to be providing oversight. I think we just want to be really careful what gets quote unquote cleaned up or done in any of those
Ah.
spots.
Okay. So,
That's speaking for or against the scouts.
I guess that would be more for the scouts and against just putting it out to bid.
okay. Okay. So
I can just leave it out.
let's leave it out, but let's leave it for us as an activity.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. That's really useful.
Right.
Yeah. We don't want to sort of destroy the pond.
Exactly. And they did it before.
Yeah.
And obviously they don't know a darn thing about it, but the scout, I think Nona went out with them and told the scouts, these are the 2 plants we want them to pull, and they pulled them.
Okay. So we'll keep the pond out. Okay. Any other feedback, additions, questions, concerns? I think it's pretty complete.
So if people are happy with it, are you willing to approve it? Knowing that Megan and I will coordinate to make the language congruent with the change we talked about making the appendix better and making the internal referrals sensible.
Yeah, I think we could do that.
Okay, then I move that we approve the Springdown report with the improvements discussed to be made.
Can I hear a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Are we discussing the Springdown report separately from?
Yeah, we'll do it separately. Yeah. So then we're done with Springdown.
Yep.
And then Megan.
I think Judy has largely covered what happens in the town center scope of work. On this one, we did identify which items of work are performed just by Public Works as standard course because the town center is not an open space. And then the 5-year plan and the immediate recommendations are really just the same recommendations that we've been carrying for a number of years that haven't been executed. So I don't think there's anything too new and exciting in there.
It's pretty complete. Although you called it a draft, so I didn't know if you called it a draft, so I didn't know if you had anything to add still.
There are a couple of nitpicky things that I was going to talk about with the subcommittee. Whether replenishing mulch is a part of the Public Works standard practice or whether that belongs in this scope of work.
I saw that.
Yeah, it hasn't been something that Go Native has done in the past that I'm aware of. And we still do have 2 guys on the staff of Public Works, so I don't know what his intention is. I mean, I think when we meet with him next, that should be one of our questions.
Well, let's put it,
How does he see that happening? So,
I think part of my consideration is that, in the past, when we provided some recommendations, Howard responded, oh, that's already in our plan. So on some level, if we want the mulch replenished, have some interest in just putting it in there. and letting it kind of sort itself out, especially since we know it's already not an open space, so funding is handled differently.
Because what is not in will not get done. Because they're all new.
What's not in will not get done by an outside contractor. That the point of this scope of work is to go to an outside contractor, right? And it's not clear yet to us. We know that lots of things in town have been moved to outside contractors.
Well, that is true, but we also need to tell Robert what has to be done so that then he can plan his stuff, because he won't know.
Not what this document is for.
Okay, we could put it in.
But that's not what they
Okay.
ask us to do in these documents.
Then let's add it into the Excel spreadsheet. Okay.
But so I'm a little confused here. We don't really know what the town staff will do. They
Correct.
have in the past done mowing and various other things. But we're trying to put together statements of work for an outside contractor.
Traditionally, we have made recommendations for what needs doing
Yeah,
at these important sites.
right.
And they've been things that were too much for the usual public works. Public works was, in fact, when we started this process, public works was mowing spring down once a year for fire
Mhm.
and sort of ignoring the rest. There was no land management function.
Mhm.
And so that's essentially what we've been doing. So and then when some of these things would come up, they would say, oh, well, we can do that. And they would just do it. But now there's a new cast of characters and we don't entirely know what they're planning to do and what they're not planning.
Actually, what Robert said is he wants us to put down what they should be doing. So if we expect that somebody needs to do mulching, we need to write this down somewhere.
Somewhere. Yeah,
And
I
that's
know.
why I think let's put it into the spreadsheet and then call the spreadsheet Public Works and whatever tasks,
Or make another page that's for.
whatever, yeah.
For internal use. not-
Because if it's not being presented, when we present this to the town, it's not going to be on Robert's
Right.
radar.
So one of the questions is, does it need doing this year?
No,
And if it doesn't need
2026.
doing this year, then I would say by this year, I mean the year we're budgeting for now.
Yeah,
26, if it doesn't need there, I think we should just ignore it and not complicate the
well,
issue until we get clear, till we can have a meeting with them and get clear, what are they planning on doing and what are they not planning on?
huh?
If it doesn't have to be done now,
But we're talking about 2026, Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4.
understand.
So you guys, it is very confusing because these are titled 5-year management plan. It's not, it doesn't say 5-year management plan subject to external bids, blah, 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 blah. So what is it? And we've been talking for months about trying to come up with overarching plans for the open space properties and things, right? And so I think we're kind of talking apples and oranges here.
No,
Uh,
so, yeah.
let's get back to really what is it you want to be doing here
Yeah.
so that we are focused
Very good.
correctly and we can
Yeah.
support the activity appropriately.
So what I understood what Darcy was asking. And that's what sticks with me. She wanted a quarterly report of work that needs to be done. So that they can, for the next fiscal year, budget or first of all, decide which work can be done in-house, which work has to be done outsourced, and then that also giving them contractor names, because we know some of the contractors who can do the work, because it's sensitive work.
so much that we knew as that he didn't know. And
He
gave us
didn't
the-
know.
Yeah.
So we were asked, and we did more than that because it needed to be in a framework. But what I took in my notes, and I was going over them before the meeting, Darcy asked for a quarterly report of work that needs to be done and how it needs to be done so that they can give it out to bid and get a bid back and hire the people.
So what my understanding is, she asked for a quarterly meeting with us to get feedback about how it was going, what we were doing, what we had planned, et cetera. They don't budget on a quarterly basis. They budget once a year. And she asked for information by the end of the year so that they could put this out for bid for the next year. When they put out, they asked for specific scope of work with the details of what we wanted the contractors to do so that they could give a scope of work to the contractors and then put that in the budget for next year. So there's no point in breaking this down into quarter, as an information sheet. Yes, and your
Information
spreadsheet,
sheet.
absolutely. But in terms of these
agree.
reports, and so maybe what Teresa is asking us to do is bring the discussion back to just these reports and what they're about and what we're trying to do with these reports. And so that's my understanding, and it was written up from starting with Alex, and I think that was her understanding. And then my teasing it out from that is to give an introduction to Robert and Darcy about what's up at with those places, what needs doing, and then the appendix or the attachment or whatever it ought to be called is the scope of work that's to be given to the contractor. And Robert may change the formatting of it or something, but that's the thing. And then we added the 5-year plan. So I think it's a little misleading to call the whole thing 5-year plan. But really, we added the 5-year plan to show them how diligent we are and how much we're thinking ahead, and that we're not just sort of willy-nilly saying this is what needs doing this year. So I think the title shouldn't be 5-year plan, but the 5-year plan should be part of it.
So what do you want the title, what do you want the title to be?
I think it should just say leave out the 5-year at the top. Plant
Okay.
management report
Annual.
for
How
Frog Pond.
Annual?
We had 2067 plant management,
Okay.
2026-7 plant management plan.
But isn't this an annual thing?
Yeah.
So why don't we call it an annual plan? Rather than,
It's a redundant word.
oh, okay.
The reason it's called 5 years, because you've laid out what activities over the next 5 fiscal years.
Right, but that's not, that's
Right,
not the
but that's
point of
not
the
really,
report. They didn't-
that's what I was,
So
that-
let's cross it out. Okay.
So maybe what.
Plant
we need to
management
say
plan.
Is that this is what, these are the priorities for fiscal year 26/27 for these properties. Is that what we're trying to do?
Yeah, I think it is, but it's also trying to put it in, start with the context of a longer term vision.
Okay.
But just call it plant management plan
That's what we'll call it.
without giving any time frame.
That's what no time frame. Yeah.
Makes sense to me. And then
Yeah.
you proceed with the background, which is, they need, I think. And here's, we're thinking ahead, and then specifically what they need for this budget.
So Marianne, given that, and given, I would like to go back again and consider that this needs to be a little bit tweaked. And since it appears we're having a meeting next week, possibly we could
yeah.
revisit next week, once
Okay.
it's been tweaked, and make sure that it's truly focused
Okay.
so that we are very clear in laying out the plan for this coming fiscal year, as well as that we're not looking at this like this. We're taking, gosh, we're taking things into consideration.
Okay.
Right, so rather than voting
that
on it,
Reasonable?
I'll rework it and bring it back to the committee
Yeah.
next time.
Perfect. Okay. And
Can
Go
we
ahead.
clarify, are there any changes aside from coordinating language across Springdown and Town Center, revising the titles, are we incorporating Marianne's spreadsheet into these documents?
whatever, the spreadsheet,
She won't have it done in a week, so.
how do you
Um,
know? I was planning to have it done.
Oh.
Yeah.
great.
We can decide next week if we want to incorporate it or not. I don't mind. I just wanted to do it because that's how I look at things. I look at spreadsheets.
Is there anything else bigger picture that would help to clarify more structural changes that you want to see?
So again, getting back to it, what we're saying is we're trying to lay out very clearly what it is that we're proposing through to the 26-27 fiscal year. I would put that up front. And then I personally, I love having the breadth of discussion in it, but I'd pull it away so that you don't lose track of the real focus of the primary communication here, which is these are the priorities for this coming year's budget. And here's the big plan that goes beyond that. That's,
So
it's just a suggestion,
that is in fact how it's organized. There's the discussion
except we go.
and the title, and then the next section is proposed for next year. So discussion proposed for next year. And then the 5-year plan. And then the scope of, the reason the scope of work comes next, from what you're saying, and I agree, it would make more sense to have the details of next year tucked right in there. But since it's essentially a separate piece of paper that you're going to tear off and give to the contractor. In other words, the contractor doesn't need this whole thing. The contractor doesn't need the intro, and he doesn't need the 5-year plan.
Actually, Judy,
He just needs the details of this year.
yeah, Judy, it's actually, I tend to, in some degree, agree with Teresa, right? Because we had discussed it about the scope. What we could do is add the scope before the 5-year plan and then have the scope also as a separate document. But the identical document.
Yeah.
So that if you would like this, go to the
Yeah.
contract, why don't we do that?
No, I totally agree in terms of thinking of it just in terms of the report. It
Yeah.
absolutely belongs there in detail.
So let's do that.
Okay.
Perfect. This is why we meet, you see, all the brains are clicking.
Okay, going back to a previous discussion, I'm concerned that you were talking about not including some things that and I'm not sure why you were thinking of not including maybe some mulching or something like that. Is it because you thought volunteers were going to be doing that?
I think it should be included, Judy, the mulching.
Well, right now we're just talking about spring down. So let's, no, I'm sorry.
No,
I'm sorry.
no.
I think, the way to handle it might be to put it in the 5-year plan for not next year, but the following.
But if we want mulching done next year,
Now, I just asked Megan if it should be done next year, and she said no.
Oh.
Actually, I didn't respond.
Oh.
I think mulching needs to happen on an annual basis,
okay.
whether it's an emergency. I mean, if we think it's so dire that they can't get some mulch on the ground,
Megan, if you think
skip it.
it should be done, I think it should be in the document.
But let me answer Sarah's question. And the answer to Sarah's question is that when we made these recommendations, usually we made them to be over and above what Public Works had been doing, was doing. And Public Works was at Town Center, for example, Public Works was mowing, Public Works was mulching, Public Works was, cutting down dead plants now and then. And when we took over, we talked about, doing necessary tree work, rejuvenating some of the beds, that, the sort of next level up from a gardener who kind of doesn't know what he's doing to a real gardener. And so we were the extra layer. And now the question is, the proposal maybe is, and the question is, are we supposed to tell them everything that Justin already knows and everything that they already plan on doing?
Judy, I think when we were in the meeting, it came pretty clear that Robert wasn't going to ask Justin, because if he would be asking Justin could talk about what we just did about the mowing, because he did the mowing himself. So the assumption that I would add everything we want done or needs to be done, and then let it sit there.
Okay.
Yeah, I think everything should be in there, and then they can decide what they do internally versus what they outsource. You know, because we can't count on them continuing to do what they used to do, it sounded like.
Exactly.
So
Then
there's
the
this
onus gets on
nebulous-
us to make sure we put every single thing on it.
Exactly.
Everything- yeah.
Yes.
So
yes.
maybe it's an iterative process is what we're saying.
Yeah.
Is that they'll come back and say, well, we're going to take care of this, this, and this, but could you help us formulate how to put this out for bid? So let's think of it maybe that way.
Yeah, I think we're making good progress here. Looking
Are
at
we
it
gonna
from all
talk
angles.
about Frog Pond too? Or-
Yes, okay, so if we're, so we will address that, oh my God, yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
talking,
we gotta
it's,
get-
it's almost 7 o'clock.
Okay.
We
So
want
I'm,
Town Center?
So we're pretty much done with Town Center, and we'll make the
We're
change.
going to coordinate both documents and.
Yeah, and we don't need to vote on it. We can vote on the Town Center next week, you know, with the mulch and whatever.
Here's, ignore what's in the agenda about Frog Pond. Here's Frog Pond. The thing that was, there was no, yeah. There was no real scope, the scope of work hadn't been properly done in the one that's in the agenda. And so this is a sort of next step of that. It's got the very same format, a little discussion proposed for the year, and then the 5-year plan. And it's easy with this one to do. Let's see what happened here. Somehow this, oh yeah, it's easy to do with this one what Teresa wisely proposed for the others, and that is to move the scope of work
Yeah.
up in after proposed for 20267. So
You know what I would like to do in terms of timing? Could maybe Sarah look at this?
Yep.
And then you're not here next week, but give us feedback or do some changes, and
Won't be able,
you won't be able.
before your meeting next week, I won't be able.
You won't be able-
to do that, but I could consider things later.
Okay. Well, no, we don't have later. So we,
I can do.
Thursday?
Yeah.
okay, she's gonna.
So I would say spend a little time on it tonight,
Yeah,
2 minutes, and give me a call.
the
Yeah,
only,
I honestly don't know what has been done other than the mowing.
okay, okay.
That's-
So why don't I bring this into accord with what we've done with the others
Yeah.
and see what people
Yeah.
think about it.
And
next month.
Maybe Dana knows what has been done. She
Yeah.
lives there.
Yeah.
Maybe you want to ask her. It's just, I just, that we are sure about, the mowing.
I've been on this Frog Pond subcommittee.
Oh, that's right. You have been. Okay.
So I know.
Yeah.
what's been
Then
done.
if you know.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've written most of the previous year's things.
Oh, okay, fine. So then,
You know way more. than I
okay,
do this
okay,
morning.
that's perfect. So then Judy,
They mowed.
you just make the changes and then we'll have it, because I'm sure the content is fine then if you were on the committee. Okay.
But,
So-
and if anybody, take a look at this, if anybody else sees something before, then let me know and I'll incorporate it, and then we'll have a smoother way.
Yeah.
Next meeting.
I need to actually go back on the agenda and give the floor to Teresa in terms of trail, because I overlooked that. And also, Teresa was looking at the bridge. Mary Hafty had brought up a concern about the bridge. You didn't have a chance to look at the bridge? Okay, so, no, please.
Trails was focused a lot on the budgeting process, which I brought it up. And with respect to parcel 23, this goes.
Planting bed 23.
Bed, whatever it is, 23. It is my understanding that this has been a point of discussion for some time. I did go by and take a look at it just to see what it is. What I would like to make sure the Conservation Committee is aware of is that actually the area that Mary Hafty is referring to is a town trail. And I don't know the history. This is way before my time, so I don't really know quite how all of this has evolved or not evolved. I know that there is a trail that's supposed to go all along the fence by the church. People tend to park there and put their car all the way up. I know that it's been discussed many times. Beyond that, Marianne, I'm not really prepared to say much of anything
Okay.
about it, other than historically, I don't quite know all of
Okay.
what Mary was referring to.
So I think then also in the interest of time, why don't Judy and I do a,
Well, you and I can take a walk through, but let me say that I know there's a trail easement there. I know extra money was raised to make the bridge wider, so there could be a trail there. And what I don't know is the map with the beds on it, who made that original map? I know that we incorporated that map into the first brochure we did.
Mhm.
I don't know if I don't think, so my guess is that, my assumption is that map and the naming of those beds was laid out at the time the new town center was done, and was probably done by the landscape architect, and it's probably archaic, and and nowhere in our talking that I can remember, Megan, when we talked about which beds to redo and any of that, 23's never been on it, never been a consideration. So I think we can internally agree that that's not a bed we will ever ask to have restored, and we can reassure Mary and the
Yeah.
salespeople if they need
Yeah.
it,
So
that we're
then-
not gonna touch
And
it.
then maybe we should take it off of the brochure the next time it's up.
so we can talk to Nona about that. Nona did the brochure. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'll put it back on the agenda for next week. Okay. And then broom pool, Teresa.
I just wanted to bring up that it's going to be here before we know it. And Catherine is always the one who's been 100% in charge. So I just wanted to get it out there so we can start thinking about it as a committee. Do we want to do it? If so, when are we thinking about? And what do we need to do between now and whenever that might be if we're going to try to have an organized broom poll? So I just wanted it out there, Marianne. That's why I asked to have it just brought up.
Okay, why doesn't everybody think about this until next week? And then I'll put it back on the agenda.
I think Catherine was doing it because traditionally it was the chair.
It was the
I did
chair.
it before.
Yeah.
Catherine was the chair.
I will add that the easiest thing would be to do it in March as usual. I know we have
Okay.
occasionally done it in February because otherwise I need to order more letters for the banner.
Okay.
Well, and Dieter's had strong feelings about, we've done it pretty much the same time for years, haven't we? The same.
Yeah, it's actually,
It just takes time to
It-
get it on the calendar. It
Yeah.
takes time to get it organized. And
a good point.
it just hit me last week that,
And maybe Teresa
before we
wants to
know
be in charge of it. Don't say anything yet. Don't say anything yet. Think about it.
The other hooker and one of the things we need to get clear with Darcy and Robert is they really have the willies about volunteers doing work in town.
Yes.
And because of liability
Mhm.
things, and there've been a couple of other towns in the peninsula evidently have had huge lawsuits because of minor things that happened to people.
Mhm.
They were doing volunteer work. So the scouts evidently have their own insurance, so the scouts could participate. But we have to get clear with them, and we'll get that cleared up so that we know we can have them.
Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you for bringing it up, Teresa. Now is the time to think about it and not in February. Yeah. Okay.
Just to, since I won't be here next week, I know that when we've done, like volunteer projects, trail work, for instance, there's just been a waiver signing thing to try to get, to deal with that liability issue. That just might be something that you will bring up.
We've done waivers.
We
for a
do
long
that.
time, And evidently, so did the person who sued because of it turns out you can't really waive away your rights to have.
Yeah, Judy brings up a good point. We need to get guidance from the town. And if the town says you can't do it, then we won't do it and we won't waste our time.
But we'll lobby hard for finding a way to do it,
Yeah, because it's important.
because I think it's,
So I'm making a note that you, Judy, and Marianne will follow up on that.
Okay, and then 131 Brookside is done. We don't do the trees. And next meeting, I might bring some cookies if I bake some Austrian Christmas cookies as motivation. Are you here? No, I didn't think so. Okay, then meeting adjourned. Thank you.